Here we are with another Saturday Night Live Zoom with special guest Sarah. How are you doing, Sarah?
Sarah-Maye. Um, I'm all right. um, it's weird for me because normally I don't get a chance to come on these because I'm always at home with my kids. So I'm hoping they will stay in the other room
Uh,
and not come in. Um,
We've seen you with them a couple times. They're always busy.
yeah, oh my God, yes, they're nonstop. So it's hard to normally when if I can like pop on, I'm doing stuff and I'm listening, in my earpiece or whatever, and I'm listening more than doing talking. But a lot of times I'm coming back on later, the next during the next week sometime and watching it.
You've been around for a little while, right?
Um, yeah, well, I'm trying to think. I found the group in July of 2017.
Okay.
So a little over 2 years ago, but didn't start getting into it until this year. So, um,
You did some homework.
yes, I was silently lurking.
Awesome. That's what people need to do. Need to do their homework. Don't just believe anything. Do some homework.
Yeah.
Get yourself customized. So maybe tell us a little bit about your background. And
Oh, my background.
how you found
Um,
MFS eventually, and what possessed you to jump in.
well, I'm from Northern California. Lived here pretty much all my life, except for a little while I was in Southern California. Um, but I grew up, it was just me and my mom, and my immediate family. I mean, I had other like cousins and whatnots around, but it was just me and her. So that was kind of a different dynamic. There was a lot
California
of,
hills.
yeah, it's a little different. It's Northern California, so it's all woodsy.
Yeah, nice.
Um, but I grew up on my mom's parents. They had a dairy, so I grew up on a dairy. Um, so I ate lots of dairy.
Like a
Was it
dairy farm?
dairy
Yeah,
farm?
a
Was it?
dairy farm.
Would you guys consume it pasteurized or raw?
It was raw,
Awesome.
but that went away because it was a small little dairy. That went away the late 80s. I think it was 88 or 89. Um, that they finally closed it, and I grew up. I was like the only one in my family at the time, but I grew up a vegetarian. Just I never liked meat.
Wow.
So in the grand scheme of things, that's only a drop in the bucket, but I at least
Nobody could make you eat it. You just didn't have any desire.
no. Like I remember when I was, I don't know, like under 5 or 6, I remember eating it sometimes,
Right.
but I just never really liked it. Like the chewing of it just kind of like freaked my mouth out. Like the sensor, I don't know. So I've
Yeah.
never been a meat eater. But because of that, I ate copious amounts of, cheese and bread and peanut butter. Like those were my go-tos to get my protein and what have you.
Yeah, all the good stuff. Yeah.
All the good stuff. And my mom does not cook. So I ate a lot of like packaged and processed type things growing up because she just didn't cook. It was not her forte.
Your dad was not around.
No, well, that's a whole nother story. He he left when he was a scientist at Oxford, and he was out here doing research. And at the time, my mom was a travel agent, and so they met and had a fling for I don't know 9 months or something. She ended up getting pregnant, and they were separated, but he had a like ex-wife and another kid, and he's like, I don't want another kid. And so he went back, and my mom's like, well, I'm having her. So and she never dated since then. So that's why it was just me and her growing up. So he's not around. But it was kind of funny because of that. I have a half brother that I met like 10 years ago. So that's a whole nother thing, which is super fun. But yeah, so the only time I would really eat like home cooked kind of stuff was on the weekends, and I'd go to my grandparents, and my grandma would cook. So I would get, not stuff out of a box. There was a lot of at home that wasn't out of the box or frozen, and then it was, like pasta. Like that was something that I learned to make very young because I could do that by myself.
That was on your mother's side, I guess?
Yeah, because my dad's side is like non-existent.
Right.
So yeah, so ate a lot of crap growing up. And pretty much when I talk about my family, I'm referring to my mom's side because it's not my dad's side. Pretty much everybody was overweight. And it would kind of vary between just being like a little bit to like extremely obese. And my mother was one of the ones who was extremely obese. So that was something, and they're all pretty short too. So short and squat. And here I was a little bit taller than everybody and generally like slim and in comparison. So that was kind of like a weird thing I always kind of felt like the odd one out. And my mom and I always butt heads a lot when I was growing up. And so when I was around, I don't know, I was like 12 or 13, I became anorexic. And on some level, I think it was due to me not wanting to be like them, but also because I wanted like some sort of control, like feeling of control in my life, because things were just like crazy. And that was like one thing that I could control, like what I put in my mouth. So I did that until I was, I don't know, probably like 17 or 18. It was like 5 or 6 years. And then even after that, I would, now that when I knew I was going to do this, I kind of had to like stop and think about things, and I started like making more connections.
Yeah.
And I realized that ever since then, like I would always eat more minimally, like out in public. But at home is when I would kind of like binge more, when nobody could see me actually doing it. I guess I never really considered that I was in like bad health.
None of us do until something happens.
Right. And I guess I never had any like big thing happen, but I did have plenty of labels that were put on me that I've since, like, I laugh at them now, especially since several of them have disappeared. But I guess to put things in perspective as to like what I was talking about, gosh, for as long as I can remember, like I've had depression since probably early as like 9 or 10. I remember like having that feeling. What else? Like anxiety, ADHD, migraines, eczema.
All of the above.
All of the above, But I never. What?
Were you taking medications for them?
Oh yeah, of course. Put a Band-Aid on it, make it all better, right? Because I started getting migraines when I was like 12 or 13. The doctors gave me different kinds of like migraine medication, and they never worked. So I took them for a while, but the thing that generally did work, if you want to call it that, would be like ibuprofen or Excedrin. So I took those like candy, like any tiny little ache or pain, like, oh, better take some ibuprofen. Yeah. So I took lots of those, just daily, sometimes multiple times daily. What else? When I was in, I guess, later in high school and in college, of course, well, maybe it was a little earlier, the beginning of high school. So I was like 14, I started smoking cigarettes. And that lasted on and off until I was probably like 27. So that was what, 12, 13 years of that. During those years, also copious amounts of alcohol, street drugs, pharmaceuticals, all that kind of partying, pretty hardcore. Lots of coffee, lots and lots of coffee. Trying to think. Yeah. Then, also birth control. Took that for a long time. Then later, near the end of college, so gosh, I was probably like 23 or 24. It was when I was in grad school. The depression, like it would kind of go up and down, but it got to a really bad point where once, on multiple occasions, like I attempted suicide. But it got to a peak again when I was in grad school, and luckily I called one of my friends, and she took me through it or whatever, and I started seeing somebody again. And at that point I started taking whatever, depression stuff, whatever you call them. So I took that for, gosh, that was probably like 10 years, maybe even more. No, yeah, probably like 10, 11 years that I took meds for depression. And for a while, I took maybe like a year or so, I even took stuff for ADHD. Yeah, so I've taken a lot of stuff.
How did you get off them?
Very slowly.
No, but what drove you to come off them? What?
MFS.
Oh, really? Is it so?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's only like the past 2 years you started?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was taking, I don't know, just totally in that mindset of, it's okay, and it's so normal and common, and there's nothing wrong with it. And
most everybody's doing it.
Exactly, everyone's doing it. And I don't know, when I look back on it, I'm okay with it. Like, it's the journey that I had to take, and I don't regret doing any of those things. But yeah, I know when it's coming out, there's a lot to come out. Oh gosh. And that lasted about 15 minutes. Yes, love.
It's okay.
Well, did you tell him? Do you like that? Well, then you need to use your words and tell him that you don't like that. So leave that on, please. Okay. So I guess that's kind of me before. A lot of bad stuff going in.
And you started changing your diet as well along the way?
No, I mean, even that was up until, it was all this way up until maybe like a year ago or so. And I found that, let me shut the door. So my son, who's 9 now, my daughter's 6. My son has dealt with constipation since he was like 8 months old. And it's like pretty bad. There would be times when he would just hold it for his thing is he is scared that it will hurt, because he had like one painful poop when he was a baby, and like ever since then he didn't want to go. He's just scared that it would hurt. Of course, not making the connection that when you hold it, it gets bigger, and then yes, it will hurt. So, so oh my gosh, he'd hold it for like weeks at a time, and when he would go, then it would just be like, because I could obviously tell he would need to, and just 3-4 hour tantrums of like him trying to hold it, and it was disaster. And so got on this like kick of like trying to figure out how to deal with it. And so like reading different books or things I would search on the internet. And it was on Facebook. You know how like sometimes things will pop up on like what it thinks you're interested in or whatnot. On some other page, it was, I don't know, I don't even remember what page now. It was some sort of, healthy living page, what have you. That interview that you did with, what's his name, Giovanni?
Mm-hmm.
That one, it wasn't I guess the interview, but it was like a blog post by him. I think they were sharing that post, and so this popped up. And it's this guy, and has his picture like before and after. And just like randomly, I was like, oh, what's this? And I click on it and I'm reading it. And I'm like, what? This is madness. And, he references MFS in there. And my best friend is a registered dietitian.
Oh, yeah.
And so I sent it to her and I was like, have you heard of this? Like, what is this? And she was like, oh, it's probably some just like fad thing. And I was like, oh, okay. That's weird. But I was like intrigued by it. And so I clicked to join the group. So that was July of 2017. And then once it's like, I'm looking at all the stuff on there, and it's like I think the best way I can describe it is like a car accident. It's like you can't not look. Like, I would see it and I was like, who are these crazy people? But like, I couldn't stop looking at the page. I was just like, these are a bunch of like weirdos. I can't even. And then sure enough, and then I go, well, let me just peek again. Just another little look. I kept going back. And so for those first like 6 months, I kept like, reading the posts and being like, what? These people with plasma love, what is this nonsense? Like, they're all a bunch of hippies. And so then it was probably after about like 6 months or so, I was like, well, I'm gonna read the book because they keep talking about it. And so I got the mucosal diet healing. I got that book and I read it and I was like, what? Like blew my mind. Like it's like everything is taught, but it's just kind of the opposite of it. Like, well, why couldn't it be this way? I was like, you are right. Why couldn't it be? This is amazing. And so I was kind of like, okay, this sounds like I get it. And so then when I was reading the post, I was like, okay, like I'm catching on more and more. And it kind of happened at a good time. I didn't like the psychiatrist I had been seeing, who was like giving me the meds. She just, I don't know, she just struck me the wrong way and started bugging me, and I was like, I want to get off all this stuff. Like, I don't want to take any of it anymore. So for that next year, well, it was a little less than a year. Because if that was around, I don't know, December, January, by August of last year, of 2018, I was off everything. And I haven't even taken so much as an ibuprofen since then. So that's, I'm pretty proud of myself for that. There's been times where I've even,
Was it
Like,
you also that mentioned you got taller?
got what?
Taller?
I did.
Yeah.
I did get taller. Um, yeah, so that's something that I'm pretty proud of, is not even, because taking even just an ibuprofen for every little ache and pain was just so habitual. And to have not taken it, oh God, I hear them yelling.
Don't worry.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I haven't even taken it for what, like 15 months now. It's like,
Awesome.
I'm super proud of myself. So kind of along that same timeline of me getting off stuff, I knew that I wanted to try it, but in order to like afford the tinctures and whatnot, I was not in a good space financially. So it took me about a year to save up for the tinctures.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was saving, I was getting off the pharmaceuticals, and then I had enough to get them. It was like a year ago. I think it was like November. It's like end of November. I think it was around this time last year. End of November, beginning of December when I bought them. So I had them, and my plan was to kind of start around New Year's last year. And that didn't happen because I just started kind of like panicking about like, oh my gosh, like who knows like what the symptoms will be of like the detoxing everything out, and just panicking about like how bad it might be, and would I still be able to work, and would I, yeah, because I work in the school system here.
Okay.
I'm a speech therapist, so I work with a lot of kids with special needs. So you kind of have to be on your A game at all times. So I was worried about would I still be able to like do my job and what have you, and still, you know, have the energy, plus still my two kids, and was making excuses for myself.
Yeah, most of us.
But at least since I wasn't ready to like jump on board of that, I did do the transition diet in the book during that time. So for like 3 months or so, I did like in the book, the transition diet that I have. Probably for like 2 months, I had a cold, like just so much coming out. What's baby? You want it off?
Yeah, because
The hair?
Yeah, because I didn't know that it was, because I wanted
There
to
it
try
is.
it
Gotta take the Lego hair off.
but I didn't know that it was.
Can you shut the door behind you, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so for a solid 2 months, just so much coming out. It was crazy. And I felt like totally fine with the exception of, you know, everything just coming out.
All that dairy.
Oh, yeah, so much.
How's the depression?
Oh, it was totally still, it was weird. Like when I got off the depression meds, it was super emotional, like, and I'd been on them for so long that I almost, you know, like forgot what it was like to not take them. But I realized, I was like, oh my God, I was so numb. Like it shocked me like how much I was like feeling again. It was bizarre. I was like,
Exactly.
it was the weirdest thing. I was like, when I was on it, I didn't feel like I was numb. But once I was off, I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So that was probably like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months of like me learning to just like deal with my feelings. But once that settled, Like I'm a lot better now, even more so after the fast. But oh gosh, what was I saying? Oh, then because in a very like weird, awkward living situation, it's a very toxic home environment. So my kind of partner, I don't even know. He's a very negative person, very pessimistic and about everything. And I realized that part of the reason I was putting it off is because I knew he would have something to say about it. And so I finally decided that he had a trip planned where he was going to be gone for like a week. And I was like, I'm going to start when he leaves, because then when he gets back, I'll already be doing it and he won't be able to say anything. So that's exactly what I did. Just kind of jumped right in. Actually, also during that like transition time, I was kind of playing with the juice because I have always hated grape juice.
Really? Wow.
My whole life, I've never liked it. So I was trying to find a good mixture of what I could have it with that I could tolerate. And I tried a bunch of different kinds of like mixing them, but I settled on cranberry, and I figured out like the right ratio of what I needed. And luckily here, like grape juice is plentiful and super cheap and easily maintainable. So I could go to the store and I feel bad for the other people when they have a harder time finding it. And it's so cheap, and the grocery store is like half a block away from our house. So I just go there and pile up on it. But so I found this good mixture. But I just jumped in, and that way when he got back, I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally already doing it. I'm on like day 7. And trying to think what else.
Are you guys still together?
Yeah, it's like this really weird thing where we broke up, but he refused to leave, and so he's still here, and I can't kick him out because he's on the lease, and we're not married. Like we've been together for like 10 years and we have kids and whatnot, but we're not married. So like legally there's nothing I can do. So we're just kind of like cohabitating still. And I'm trying to make the best of it, but I have more emotions. I can talk about that like later. Like post-fast stuff. So what else? Yeah, so I started, and I have, there's nobody around me like that was in support of any of it. So I did it like, with the exception of the group, like 100% like on my own. There's nobody here who even, understood or was open to the idea of it. So I had the idea of doing a 108 because I felt, and I know it wasn't recommended, but to me, because I did want to be committed to this, I felt like if I did that, it would force my body to like accept it, rather like, and not give me the chance to just do it as a fling. So I wanted to at least do like 30 or 40 days, but I really wanted to do the 108. So when I jumped in, like that was kind of my goal, is I wanted to be able to last at least like 40 days, but I really wanted to do the whole thing. So in the first The first couple of weeks was kind of tough just because it was, you know, it's just a weird thing when and I'd never done any like fasting or anything before, like total newbie. Like didn't even the concept of it was, would have been like unheard of to me before I found the group. So it was just like a weird thing, and just realizing how much like how habitual eating is. Like I knew I was fasting and I'd be like, oh, I want some chips or something, and I'd be like, well, why? Like I'm not even hungry right now. Like you just realize how much of it is like, oh, it's dinner time, therefore I should be eating, and that's just not the case. So yeah, the first few weeks were just like kind of ups and downs of getting used to it. Like mucoid plaque was coming out day one, and it never really stopped. Just so much of it, and it's almost like I would see, people take pictures of it.
Mm-hmm.
But mine, and I do have some really good pictures, but mine was like so much and so big, like there's no way I could have even like gotten it out of the toilet, or like people like lay it up all nice on their toilet paper. I'm like, I can't even get mine out of the toilet. It's like no, I swear it would be like 10 pounds a day. It was ridiculous. So yeah, that just was like blew my mind every time, just how much came out. I'm like, I don't even know where it's hiding. Also like before, originally when I joined the group, it was when the protocol was still open. So I was able to read the protocol, and I was just like, what? There's no way in hell I would ever do an enema. Like, nope, not happening. So that was another like thing that I had to get adjusted to, was like doing those, because I was totally like a newbie on those too. And in the beginning, I wasn't doing enough either. I was only doing, it was like 2 liters, and I didn't realize that I needed to be doing more. And so then I upped it to like 6 to 10 liters a day. And after like a month or so, I totally just got in the routine of it, and it was just easy sailing.
Okay. Right.
After that, it felt, I don't know, it was just easy. And I totally did have cravings, but lots of cravings, but I think I dealt with some of it, which is funny because I've never really been like a big cook. He would do a lot of the cooking, but schedule stuff changed and I started doing this, and so I was the one who was doing all the cooking, and so it turned out that I kind of like got really into it. And because I would still have to make like breakfast, lunch, and dinner for my kids, I think I used that as my outlet. I was still like forced to be around food, so I couldn't like totally neglect it, but I would deal with my cravings that way, of like looking up a recipe and finding another like fun thing to make for them. Yes, love.
Because Vincent and we haven't ate any veggies and I don't see them on the counter.
No, they're on the kitchen table. So yeah, using that as my way, I guess, kind of coping with my food format of looking up recipes. But yeah, and I have days where like the cravings are just like super intense and like almost like not manageable. And there are definitely days of when I could just barely get juice down, and like not even getting the the 2 liters, because it was just making me like too sick. And And I tried, at the time I didn't have a juicer, I do now, but the time I didn't have a juicer. And so I tried doing like the blending the celery and whatnot and like squeezing it. It just didn't quite work very well. But sometimes I would have, in the end when it was bad, I would have like some pineapple juice, or what else did I have? I think I had apple juice a few times. Watermelon juice, just to kind of like switch it up, because I just like couldn't stomach the grape juice on some days. What else did I have? Anything? I think I had grapefruit juice a few times. Yeah, never liked the tinctures because they're just like so bitter. And I leave them out like the night or morning before, so that the stuff, then I can take them all as a shot or whatever. What?
Have them as a shot usually.
And
You have them as a shot.
yeah, like, well, I mix them. What I do is I put I have a bunch of little bottles, and I would dose them all out for like the week. And then, because I have like a dozen bottles or whatever, and then that way I would just dump my little bottle out and put some tea in it, and then it would air out over the night or whatever. And
have you tried adding some maple syrup to the tinctures and tea?
Yeah, well, I would do that. Like, I would take the shot, and then I would have like a spoonful of honey or maple syrup or something. I would do that.
The way we like to take it is I like to put maple syrup, and then I put my tinctures, and then
like in them.
Yeah, in them, and I mix them, and then I put the tea, and it's delicious.
Maybe I'll have to try putting it in them.
It's like coffee, but it's not stimulating.
Gotcha.
And sweet, because you put the maple syrup. Yeah, I look forward to it. It's nice.
Well, I mean, now it's better. It's not as bad, but like in the beginning, I was just like, oh God, these are terrible. I've always liked the plasma pudding. That was kind of the highlight of my day. Like halfway through, I really missed the like sensation of chewing on something. And so I started trying it like different ways, and I started making like fruit roll-ups. I found the right kind of consistency and mixture. What, baby? Sure. The right consistency and like time-wise, because I didn't know like how much to leave it in the oven or whatever, but I got that all worked out. And so then I got on this kick and had fruit roll-ups for the like second half of it. What else? A lot of stuff I think changed. One of the things that I had is my eczema. It would leave. What's that, baby? Oh, well, then you just have to stop the music. Do you know how to do that? Does Nancy know how?
Let me ask.
Okay. On the type of eczema, I know I'm using labels, but it would like leave like scars, like wherever I would get it. And so like on this middle finger, it was just like full.
Know how to stop.
Okay. It was full of bumps, and like so much I couldn't even get like a ring over it, and it was just like gnarly and whatnot. And so one of the cool things that happened during the fast is they started going away, and like I only have like 2 little ones left, and like otherwise they're like gone. It was just like watching it would go through these periods of it kind of like drying out, and like a layer would come off, and then it would be nothing, and like it would dry out and another layer would come off, and eventually it was just like disappearing. So that was kind of cool to watch. What other things? I had a lot, a lot of anger. So much anger that was apparently like inside needing to come out.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
liver detoxing probably from all the drugs.
Oh my gosh, I would have just random days where I would just be like yelling or like so irritable. And so that was something like the emotional roller coaster of like doing that was like something that I didn't, expect. Because overall, I wouldn't say that I was like an angry person, I wouldn't think that that would have to come out. And so um, that was weird to deal with. The depression got like less and less as time went on. Um, the the ADHD, like my attention and my ability to focus on something, like drastically improved. I just realized like how much like brain fog I had. It's that just going away. What else? Anxiety. Oh, I have like this other thing where I'm like super light sensitive. Um, and I have specially tinted like glasses and sunglasses that I wear. And I noticed that my light sensitivity started to get less also.
Yeah, that's pharmaceutical related.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool, like being able to go outside and not feel the need to wear sunglasses, which is like never happens. I'm so used to having those, like needing them, just being blinded by sunlight. So yeah, that getting less. I'm trying to see what else. Oh, obviously, lots of weight loss. um, I I would check in with myself like every week, just not because I cared, but more just out of like curiosity. And the, with the exception of the first week where I lost, I think it was like 10 or 12 pounds. And so much of that was just like me being bloated. So, but then after that, it was about like 2 to 3 pounds steadily every week. So near the end, the last time I had like really weighed myself, I had lost like 40 pounds. Um, and then, but then after day, I don't know exactly what day, like somewhere in the 90s, um, the the mucoid plaque like kind of tapered off and it's turned into like little green chunks. Um, so I don't know if that was like liver stuff coming out, whatever
More
it
likely,
was.
yeah.
Um,
Milestones, gravel, whatever you want to
yeah,
call
that's probably what
it.
it looked like.
Usually smells
Yeah,
Strong smell.
not nice. Um,
Yeah.
so when that was happening, I started to get kind of like bloated again. And kind of stopped weighing myself. And I think I kind of like hung out around the same. And then I don't know if you guys remember, but the way I get to the end was I had like a kidney spasm and was in the like most intense pain of my life. Awful.
Yeah.
In hindsight, like, it's just a number, but I think,
How long did that last?
well, it was like a week. Um, but I was in my last like dry to end it. So it was, I think, on like day 106 or 107 is when it happened. And then to, I was still in pain or whatever. But it was day 108 and my kids were like Mommy gets to eat. They're super excited, and they like, so I broke it because they were, you know, in hindsight, I probably would have like just kept going. But they were really excited about me like, eating the melon, so I ate the melon. It was really cute though, because something my son said to me, and I don't know what day is, day 96, 97 or something. He was like, why does it have to be 108 days? I don't know, it's just a number. It doesn't have to be. I guess it was just kind of, at this point, it was the goal I was trying to achieve, you know, but it really doesn't matter. And he's like, well, you know what? No matter what day it is, I'm proud of you because you did something amazing. And I was like, oh, thanks, bud. That's like the nicest thing you've ever said.
Yeah, kids are sharp.
Yeah, so that was like super special. So they were really excited, and so it was nice, like all three of us ate the melon together. And so I had melon, I think, for like 2 days. But the pain, so that was like Saturday, Sunday. But the pain like wasn't getting better, and so like Monday, I was on MFS again, and had juice for I think like 2 days, and then I was dry fasting again. And so for that whole week, I was going to the chiropractor, the acupuncturist, and getting a massage like every day. It's like the trifecta, and that was like what got me through doing all those three things. So it wasn't really like the way I wanted to end it, but it is what it is.
With a bang.
Yeah, exactly. So then after that, I was around for a week or two, and then I went to Jamaica. And it did pretty good when I was there. I mean, there's so many like fun new fruits and stuff to try. So that was good.
Jamaica's got awesome food.
Yeah, and even the stuff that is the same, like if they have something the same, it just looks different. You know, like their avocado looks different. Even though, I mean, it's the same, but it's different. Or their like blackberries are the same. I don't know. So that was kind of cool. And the first place that we stayed was at a friend's house. And so on their grounds, and they have a groundskeeper. And so they're just in their yard were like tons of different like fruit trees and stuff. So we're just in the yard, you know, I can eat like a bird. I did try other local dishes just to try things. But I was pretty good, like overall, while I was there. Where things went awry were when I got back home, back to my toxic living environment. And part of it was that, and then part of it was I only had a few days before I went back to work again, because I'm off in the summers because I work in the schools. So it was like, as soon as I get back from vacation, I'm back at home and back at work, which is also another like toxic environment. And just, I went off the deep end. And there were a few weeks of like, fuck this shit, like, fuck MFS, like, fuck everything. I'm gonna eat what I want. And yeah, it was bad. And then, oh God, and they're screaming. She's just, I hate you. So there were a few bad weeks where, yeah, just eating anything and everything. Yes, love. Oh, honey, you gotta work it out. Hiding in here is not gonna solve your problem. Can you talk to him about how you're feeling? Or what you need from him? What are you scared of?
He keeps on turning off the light.
Would you tell him not to turn off the lights?
Yes, and he did that one more time. And I told him to stop.
Okay. Will you tell him to come here, please? Can you please respect what she's saying?
Yes.
I am.
Why is she interrupted?
No, because she feels like you're not listening to her words.
Sorry.
So, what happened?
The fuck MFS.
Yes, fuck MFS. And so what got me out of it, because there were even times where like, just got super bloated. I even made myself like sick one day with a headache and throwing up. And then my son has the diagnosis of autism. So there's behaviors associated with that. So one day he was upset at school and I picked him up and he ran away from me. And that I could not run after him. Like my body felt like cement and I just like literally could not run. And that's what like snapped me out of it. I was like, oh, look what I'm doing to myself. This is not good. So then I jumped back on, got out of my little hole, and I found that because I like went off the deep end, which I could have told you like before all this, like it was gonna happen. I just didn't expect it would have happened so soon. Just because I know myself. But I feel like the cravings are worse now that I've, put all that stuff like back in me. And so originally, I know when I was getting off, you had said that try to do like, 5 days eating and then 2 days fasting. That was like way too hard. I feel like if I do more than a day or two, like I just go totally off the rail again. So it's kind of, I'm doing the opposite where I'll do, and I've tried to play with it, but it seems to be the pattern right now that if I do eating more than 2 days, then it's bad news again. So it's me kind of eating for like 2 days and then
Instead of doing one, can I watch something or play something?
No, right now. Just learning.
Yeah, I totally
Yeah,
agree.
and fasting the rest of the time.
After 108 days, it's really hard to eat, in my opinion, more than 5 days. More than 2 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
You want the feeling of being light and empty and energetic.
Yeah.
And that doesn't come when we do a lot of eating, so to keep the feeling, at least I would say fast 5 days a week, I would say, after 108 days.
Yeah. So that's where I am right now. And I'm still trying to get back to that feeling because after I was doing it for so long, I forgot like how many little like aches and pains and whatnot I had because I was feeling good, and those things had disappeared, and so just forgot that they ever existed almost. And so now that I'm eating, like
You're reminded
how many, like when I was eating poorly, all those things slowly started coming back, and I was like, oh yeah, this sucks. Or even like
we easily forget when they're gone.
totally.
Oh yeah.
You appreciate the messy fest when
Yeah.
and then you're like, okay.
Totally. And I've always been slow to make connections, I've been slow to ever make connections, but they've gotten better, I think, with like just having mental clarity and being able to like process things better. And so I've had a few like revelations, during this time. And they're like stupid things, or it's like I woke up one morning and my back hurt and I was like, oh, God damn it, my back pain's back. And then I was like, oh, actually, that's kidneys. Like my kidneys are mad at me right now. I don't actually have back pain. Like, it's, oh, really? This whole time? Like, my whole life I've actually had kidney pain and it wasn't really back pain? Like, oh, well, that's dumb. Like, so things like that, being kind of slow to
Yeah,
like make
kidney
those
being,
connections.
yeah, it always goes back to obstructed bowels, in my opinion. The best
Yeah.
way to help your kidneys is to help your bowels. And yeah, that's is about release.
Keep them empty.
Yeah.
Earls, can you please mute your mic? Or I'll mute it for you.
Before, I guess I didn't say that before, when I was, growing up and whatnot, I didn't go to the bathroom every day. Sometimes it would be every like 3 or 4 days, but people saying that, oh, you don't have to go every day, it's normal. And so I never really like thought about it. And it wasn't until as I was doing research about trying to deal with my son's constipation that I realized I was like, oh, I guess I'm constipated too. Okay. So that was kind of like a weird realization to have, like thinking that I was healthy when really I'm not. And even during Master Fast, I think and it was near the end, I think I had like a spontaneous like bowel movement. I wouldn't go unless it was the enema. And even now, I'm still not going. Like I'm still obviously doing like daily enemas or whatever.
Yeah. Daily enemas or colonic or colima or whatever.
Yeah, but rarely am I going like on my own. I don't have a colima board because it won't fit in my bathroom. And I haven't found a place near me that I've called around to a couple places, but none that I felt comfortable with as far as a colonic.
So okay. Yeah, I wanted to ask
if your bowels aren't working still, just shows you got more work to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my question was so like right now your master fast, doing full master fast like 5 days a week and then eating 2 days a week, and you're still not moving your bowels when you're eating the day after. You don't. No. Okay. And when you wash, a lot comes out, of course, right?
Yeah.
The day after you eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see like, and sometimes like it doesn't look like it was even digested.
Yeah, it depends. Some stuff are more easily digested than other stuff. Depends what we eat. And yeah, what are you eating? And like, are you eating the whole day or within a short period?
That's hard too. I try to keep it in a window. But there have been times where I'll have, I'll do my window, but then like later, like sneak something else in.
So what's the window usually? Like what's the goal window?
My window is probably more like 6 hours rather than 3.
Yeah. And you're doing mainly fruits and vegetables?
Yeah. Now that there's so many good things during the summer to eat, and so a lot of those are kind of gone now. So I guess it's still technically fruit, but more like squashes or like bell peppers, things like that. There's not, yeah, just because a lot of the other
Mhm.
the mangoes or the kiwis or the melons, those things aren't like in the stores anymore.
Amazing. Good for you. Big
But I mean,
change in your lifestyle. Big change in your lifestyle from a year or two ago.
yeah, it's a huge, and it's still not perfect. Like I still totally slip up and
Yeah.
eat some crap or something, but
It's normal. And your
it's
kids, are they like you now?
they I've gotten them to eat at least more fruits and vegetables, but
Very good.
dad is a big like meat eater and junk food eater. So he pushes that on them. So they're kind of
Between two homes.
they kind of end up in the middle.
Yeah.
They definitely are eating like significantly more like fruits and vegetables. So, you know, I feel like at this age, that they're 6 and 9, I don't know. Like if it was just me, then it may be different. But I'm trying to like keep the peace, and so
Yeah, it's confusing for the kids. When
yeah.
you have two homes.
There was one time where I don't remember if I was still fasting or if it was after, but my daughter had she had a tummy ache and didn't feel like she kept feeling she was gonna throw up and she just didn't feel good, and her dad was barbecuing hamburgers for them for dinner, and she was like, oh, like I don't know if I want to eat, and I was like, honey, you don't have to, like you gotta listen to your body, and just because dad's making you a hamburger doesn't mean you have to eat it. Like if your tummy says you don't want to, like because you've done that before and then you just like throw it up. It's like it's better to eat something light like fruit or just nothing, just have something to drink. And so she laid there for a while, and then she ended up choosing, she told dad, she's like, I'm just gonna have some fruit. And she took like a couple bites of an apple and then she was done. And I'm in the background like, I win. I was like, yay, she made a good choice.
The child wins.
Yeah. So I feel like they've gotten better about stuff, and I feel like all I can do at this point is you know, I guess keep promoting it and setting a good example. Oh, I know something else. I lost like all my hair. My hair was like, well, it was like past my waist. It was like super long and super thick, and it all fell out. Like after, I mean, it was falling out like during the fast, and I feel like it it kind of, well, it's been falling out, but after the fast was done, I lost like probably like 90% of it, and it was so bad that I had to chop it all off. So
Yeah, and now it's more stable.
yeah, well, I can see where it's growing back, because a lot of it came out, well, maybe like
new ones.
Yeah, 2 months after or whatever. So right now, like, you know, it's just, I can see where a lot of it is just like super short.
Yeah, it'll come back stronger than ever, in my opinion. But you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be balanced and consistent with your lifestyle.
Yeah. But that was like slightly heart-wrenching for me, because that was like I don't know, it was part of me. My hair's been super long for, I don't know, the last 15 years. And so to suddenly have to like
The
just
body
jump
only,
off.
yeah, the body only lets go of what doesn't serve it, you know. So
Yeah,
you have to accept that. Yeah?
It's,
yeah.
You have to have faith.
I was I made my peace and I was like, all right, it's cool. I'm just gonna rock short hair for a while.
out with the weak and old, in with the new.
Yes. But I did grow like 2 inches, so that was exciting. um,
Amazing.
then 5'4" my whole life, and now I'm like 5'6".
Love it.
Wow,
Love it.
Yeah,
2 inches.
yeah.
Oh yeah, oh my God. That's a lot.
It was funny because I felt like my pants were fitting me differently. But I was just like, maybe they just shrunk in the wash, like, because I was already like thinner, and I don't know. I was just like, whatever. And then I was rewatching some of the old Zooms, and gosh, I can't remember. There was another girl who grew like 2 inches.
Yeah.
I can't think of.
Lena,
Yes, it
over
was
2
Lena.
inches.
Yeah, it was Lena's. I was watching that, and I was like, oh, that's funny. I wonder if I have. And I don't know. I was on day like 80 or something. And at the time, I measured myself, and I'd grown an inch. And I was like, holy shit. And so then by the end of it, I measured myself again. And in that last like month or whatever, I grew like another inch.
It just shows how closed up the body is, and it's allowed to just open up and things happening. But also it could be things, obstructions within the pituitary gland and stuff, which doesn't allow the proper growth and so on and so forth. So we don't really know exactly, but all we do know is once you move out the obstructions, everything starts correcting itself. And it's beautiful
Yeah.
to watch. It's like it's truly amazing. Like over 2 inches. There's two of you now. Like wow, that's
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah. And like it stopped. I still don't need to wear deodorant or use lotion or chapstick. Like, any of those things that I would just like daily lathering on, like don't need them anymore. I don't know what else.
Yeah.
Oh, I sleep less. Oh, what were you gonna say?
Are you keeping your dry fasts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was another thing. Like, God, I remember that first week of MFS, that first dry fast. It was awful. It was so bad. I was so miserable by like that 24-hour mark. I just felt like death.
Yeah.
But then it got, every week it got a little easier and a little easier. And now I can, I'm at the point where I can do like 60 hours comfortably. And I can't, this last week when I did it, I got to 60 hours and I actually I was like, oh, I could probably like keep going. But I was going to go out and run some errands and stuff. And so I decided to break it, but it felt good that I was like, oh, I'm stopping it. Like, I'm not trying to compete with myself on like getting better. Right. Just like, no, I'm stopping it and I'm feeling good and moving on. I really want to get to like that 72-hour mark, but knowing how much that I can do 60 now, like comfortably, feels good.
And
oh, go ahead.
You were saying your sleep?
Oh, my sleep. Yeah. Oh my gosh. As my whole life, I've always been somebody who just needs mass amounts of sleep, like, 10 to 12 hours a night, or else I'm like super grumpy and, don't want to talk to me kind of thing. And I've always just been that. And so I've always known that I just need to, have a minimum of 8 hours if I'm even going to function, and 10 to 12 if I want to feel good. And I realized, this is something, like I realized later, that as like the fast went on, like I was sleeping less and less, and where normally if I only slept like 4 hours, I would be like super grumpy or, tired or whatever. But I was like, oh my gosh, I've only slept 6 hours a night for the last like month and I'm not feeling tired. Weird. And I've noticed that like that's continued where my pattern now is really like 4 to 6 hours a night.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. Sure, there's been the occasional one where I've like slept longer, but more because I've been like, I just don't want to get out of bed, you know? But like to actually like my daily, like to function, like what's that, like half, a third amount of sleep as I used to.
Yeah.
So that's,
You're living more.
I am. I don't know, what else?
Beautiful.
I don't know, lots of,
What a transformation.
a lot of transformations, yeah.
How much did you start your weight, and what did you end up with, and what are you now?
Oh, when I started, I was around like 130, and I got down to about 90. And then, yeah, because I was all bloated and stuff, I don't know if I ever actually lost more. And I probably should have weighed myself before this, but just based on how I'm feeling, I'm probably about like 130 again. But I ate on Thanksgiving. I made I made the conscious choice to eat. And so I'm still bloated from that. Even though it was like,
You think
huh?
You think you gained the 40 pounds again?
Oh yeah. Well, because when I went off the rails.
For some reason, this is making this noise.
Oh.
I didn't call you.
Well, it was calling me, but look, it's all gone. All better. Yeah, no, when I went off program, I totally gained it all back. And so I'm still.
It's not hard.
It's not hard.
No, not at all. It came back really quick.
Some people have challenges, but we find few have challenges putting weight on.
Yeah.
But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, and now as you balance out with fasting 5 days a week and eating 2 days a week, I believe you will start losing slowly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I already. I can tell like by the things I eat, like the things because I ate a bunch of cooked stuff, and I know there was probably like extra salt and whatnot in there. So then I just get all like bloated, and I can like feel it. And I feel like I get bloated like really easily, and so
the body's sensitive.
Yeah, it's like way more sensitive now. So then if I start fasting, I swear I can like lose 10 pounds like that just because it's all of me like being bloated.
Yep.
So even like right now, I feel like my cheeks are kind of puffy. So, but
yeah,
you know, I made that choice. I was like, no, I'm gonna.
Yeah. Enjoy whatever you want, but just be balanced and focused and do what you want.
Yeah.
Don't be a slave to the food.
Yeah, just be prudent in all things you do.
Yeah, be prudent. For sure. Like you don't want to go crazy. It's a shock.
And I feel like with the next, like, probably like the next 6 weeks will be harder with like all the events happening. But after mid-January, when most of those events are like over, then I want to get on another long fast.
Yeah, I find a helpful tip would be like in Christmas time, or wherever you go, or have people over, prepare some food. Prepare some food. People will appreciate it because they're getting help, and at the same time, they don't have to worry about you because you're eating differently, and you don't have to worry about their food, and you don't want the burden of them, worrying about you. So yeah, so I find the easiest way to socialize is when we are eating cleaner is to prepare some food to to give, to participate, because if you're gonna be different, it's gonna be a burden on them.
Right.
And if at the same time you eat their food and you get bloated, and you don't want that all the time.
Right. And I did on Thanksgiving, like I did bring
Mm-hmm.
stuff, because the compromise I have been able to make with their dad is to have them be gluten-free and dairy-free. So knowing that, like, I prepared things that I knew at least my kids would eat and that I would eat. But then I did have extra things because one of my cousins made some like gluten and dairy-free stuff for me. And so I was like, oh, it's really nice. I should have like some of it so that you don't feel that, you know. Which obviously I didn't have to, but like
Once in a while.
yeah. So, but I'm okay with it. I'm not making excuses, you know. I'm comfortable with the choice that I made. Like I chose to eat and I chose to, you know, enjoy it. So, but I do want to get back to like that feeling of how I was. And so I was like, oh my gosh. I was feeling really good and I was like no pain and, you know, aches and uncomfortableness that so quickly creeps its way back in. I think I was shocked, like when I reflected back on it, like how quickly those things came back. Like almost like the brain fog was just like immediate, and the depression was not far behind. You know, just like after a week or two of eating, just already having those like downer thoughts again, and like having down talking myself and why I'm a bad person and yada yada yada. But yeah, don't want to go back there again.
If anybody has any questions, floor is open.
Oh, I know. I thought of something as I'm drinking my grape juice. After, like when I went off track and said, you know, fuck all this, that first time I had the grape juice again, but the whole like 108 days, I was like, oh, I hate it. I hate it. You know, like I had my mixture that was like manageable enough and I could like drink it. But that first time, like after, like I'd been chasing this idea of like eating all these things, and I would have an idea in my head of like what I wanted them to taste like, and then I would eat it and it was like it was never satisfying. I was like, oh, it's just not that good. And so then this first time I had the grape juice again, I was like, oh, this is delicious.
It grew on you, see?
All of a sudden I was like, oh. And so now when I'm doing it and I'm drinking my juice, like I can drink the 2 liters like no problem. It's like down the hatch. It's delicious. And even right now, like there's no cranberry mixed in this. It's just the grape and lemon, and I'm like, all right. So
It's interesting. Even the herbs, how's the herbs for you
yeah,
now?
those don't bug me anymore. I mean, they're still kind of like bitter, but I'm gonna try actually putting the maple syrup. I don't need, like, for a while there, like even to just like stomach them, I would have to, you know, take like a spoonful of maple syrup or whatever afterwards. I've never tried mixing it in, but now I can just take it and it's no big deal. So, but yeah. Any questions?
Jump in. We're a little bit out of it. We've been partying all night last night. Her dad's 70th birthday.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I just wanted to thank you for sharing. And also, I wanted to ask you, when you went back to eating and you said you were like, you know, screw this or whatever, and you just started eating, were you eating like just like regularly, like 3 meals a day, or like what was your eating like specifically? I'd love to hear more detail.
Oh yeah, like 3 meals a day of like anything and everything. I mean, I guess it's still vegetarian or whatever, or vegan. Well, there actually were a few times when I had like cheese, and that I realize now, like, or after I ate it, like, oh my gosh, that like super like destroyed my body. Like, I was like, oh my God, I feel like shit. Like, so, oh, good. In the background, he's like, don't say bad words.
Was it right after the first time you had the cheese, or was it like after you you had some cheese and then you're like, I love cheese again, and then you just keep eating the cheese, and then you
no, it was like, just even like a few hours later, I was like, oh God, like I would just feel like I think like my stomach obviously would get bloated, but the thing that I guess keeps getting like where I feel it the most is like if I know it's bad is in my legs. Like I really feel it. Like I can feel that my legs are like swollen, which is like a weird like around my ankles and stuff. And so yeah, I would be like, I was like, oh, that's not good. But in the moment, I didn't even like make that connection. But I can reflect back on it. Like when I was spiraling out, I didn't really care because I kept wanting. I was chasing this idea of it, like how I wanted it to taste. Yeah.
Something went crazy on your end, Gino, I think.
Oh,
What happened?
okay. Can you hear me still?
Yeah,
really loud though.
It sounded all crazy for a second.
Oh,
Okay.
all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't really care, I guess, at the time because I was just eating because I was chasing this idea of like how I wanted it to taste. And so I just kept eating and eating. Like I'd be eating all day long because I kept wanting to like, find that taste and I would never find it. And so I just kept going and kept going. And so God, it was probably like, 12 hours of eating in a day at least. Like it was bad.
I relate fully. After my I've only done a full like 40-day one. And I just like started eating foods that I had never eaten for like so many years. Like I think I did the full 40-day like a couple years ago, but it had been since like 2003 since I had gluten. But all of a sudden, and coffee, like I had been off for like at least 2.5 years. And all of a sudden after the 40-day, I just like, yeah, I totally relate. I went all crazy and just wanted to experience things. And I think it was like, I had this theory where it was like this, like I needed to rebel. Like I was always rebellious as a child. And now I need to rebel against this inner disciplinary figure, like the inner father. That was my inner father. I don't know. How do you like chalk up your experience of going?
It's his fault.
I know. But the pendulum swings, right, for everybody. And like, so I'm curious to know, did you do any reflecting on like your emotional body or like different things that would drive you? Was it just about the taste or was it something different?
I mean, I think that was a big component of it. Like I was starting to get the cravings,
Emotions.
Yeah. Well, so I'm getting these cravings and I'm like wanting this burrito and I want the burrito to taste like this certain way, but it's not tasting how I want it to taste, And so that would just like piss me off. And so then I'd have to go eat another burrito because I want that one to taste the right way. But I think a lot of it, like what helped spiral those emotions out was like me coming back to the toxic home and the toxic work, and it totally threw me off balance.
Yeah, we have to stay connected to one another to want to keep with this journey. That's what I'm finding. So I missed the beginning. I'm sorry I was late. I was working today. But so what is it like for you now? Are you doing, maybe you've already mentioned what you're doing? Are you doing any lifestyle or anything like that with master fasting? Or?
Yeah, what I mentioned was that I can only eat for like a day or two before oh, there's my daughter.
Hi.
But they're all waving to you. Where originally Gino had said, try eating like the 5 days and then do the 2 days fasting. But I found that was, that was too hard, because then if I eat more than like a day or two, I start spiraling again. So it was easier for me right now to keep it for like 2 days and then fasting the other ones.
Wow. And the days that you eat, are you doing like a hybrid type day, or?
It's been a mix. Like, I find what happens a lot of is I'll start with the intention. Yes, I'll start with the intention of doing like a full MFS day, and then it turns into a hybrid day. It's because I'll give in later in the day or something.
Yeah.
So out of the last, I guess I've been doing it for like 8 months. In the last 8 months, I've had probably like 100 and
That's us.
that is us up in the corner. And that's Jeanette. She's the
Hi, what's your name?
Diana.
Whoa, Deanna, that's a pretty one. How old are you?
6.
Whoa, you're getting up there. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you too. What's your guys' name?
That's Gino and that's Rana.
Yeah, the boy.
Yeah, that's Gino. Oh, that one, that's Steve.
The whole thing.
What was I saying?
Yeah,
So last like 8 months, I think I've done about like 170, 180 like full MFS days.
Wow, that's amazing.
But,
Mommy.
hang on, but I'm not counting, when I say full, I'm not counting hybrid days. So there's been more in there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So
What was the day you ended the 108?
when I started,
When you started, you ended?
I think it was like March 27th, and it went till July, I think it was like 13th.
Yeah, 3.5
And
months.
then,
Mommy.
and then it was like, it was like August to the beginning
It was
of
August 14th.
like August to September. So maybe like those 6 weeks or whatever is somewhere in there where I kind of like went off. And then been back.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, Deanna, what do you think about your mom doing all this fasting?
Oh. Mama, let's say hello before we leave. Who's that other guy in the corner?
his name's Heroes.
What?
Ask him the question. What do you think about my fasting?
Good.
You think it's good?
You support her?
Yeah.
Wow, aren't you a sweetheart? I'm sure that means a lot to her.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
How would you guys just survive fasting?
Another person? How lucky are we? Hi there. How do we survive it? It turns out that your body doesn't need, like, what do we call it? Matter? Like actual solid foods.
We need very little.
You need very little. You can do
When you're
like just
clean.
fruits and juices, and it's easy on your body and you have more energy. But each person has to decide for themselves. How old are you?
9.
Whoa, you guys are getting old.
Yeah.
You and your sister. I hope you'll join us again. Look, he just snuck out of the picture. You're funny.
Most people eat for
And I've got like
by the clock instead of when they're truly really feeling hungry.
Right. I think I still get in that pattern of like, it's lunchtime, I better eat something, and then I'm like, why am I doing that? Like,
Mhm.
totally like a habitual
Yeah,
thing.
big time.
Would you like
That's
to?
it? You decided to stay? What's your name again? I don't think I asked you.
Vincent.
Ooh, Vincent. What a nice name.
Yes.
Will you decide to go for short for Vince, or will you stick with Vincent?
You can stick with Vince.
Oh, okay. I like it. Hey. Yeah, it's fun to get together, you know. It's connection. It's so important. Community.
Mm-hmm. I know. I always watch these like after the fact.
Hmm.
But I don't always get to be here. Like, it's different when you're watching it like in person than
Right.
watching it on a replay. It's always better in person. But so that's funny. Oh, but no, thank you.
Books by Vincent.
Yes, he writes books.
Oh,
Wow.
awesome.
Awesome. So is that it? Just 2 kids? That not just. I mean, I you know what I mean? Is it
Yeah.
the 2 of them?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Nice.
They're a handful. I
Yeah.
always thought about having like a third, but now they're both like big kids.
Mm.
You know, it'd be different to like go back and start again. So I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, whatever you decide, I guess, you know?
yeah, I figure if it happens, it happens. But
I want to be
I don't
my
know.
brother. I would teach him how to play football.
No good. Now we opened a can of worms.
Sorry.
Or either
I don't know. I'm
he
36 now, so I feel, I don't know. I guess. I don't know. It'd probably actually be a totally different experience, like being pregnant and like,
fasting.
yeah, fasting, giving birth, like having,
That would be kind of weird.
that would
Because
be,
that would mean
that
that
would-
the baby fast.
yeah.
And then he would have to live like not
Learn to question everything.
Yeah.
Written in a book.
Yeah.
So, but with your health, you can probably have babies like into your 40s and late 40s, you know, with the rate you're going. So you got lots of time.
Yeah. My pregnancy is like, well, I gained lots of, I probably gained like 60 pounds both times.
Wow.
So at the height of it, I guess I was up to like 200 pounds.
Mm.
Like, and then as after kids, I was 160 for a while. But and my births were actually like not bad. Like I didn't use drugs or anything for that. Those I did all natural.
Nice.
And
Wow.
they were both like pretty short. They were both like 7 hours. But I don't know. That'd be interesting. I don't know if it was worth the whole experiment, but I'd be curious to know if it, how much different it would be for somebody. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience of like a before and an after. Thank you.
I think there's a few.
Any
Everybody's
other?
quiet.
They are all quiet.
You done, Mom?
Massive transformation.
Yes.
And it'll continue. As long as we live it and love it, it just keeps going. It's there's no end in sight.
Yeah. And I can feel it. I'm so much more like in tune to it, like even as fasting, like not feeling the need to like take a shower every day.
Right.
And like as soon as I start eating again, I'm like, oh, I feel like I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like I never was one to wash my hair every day, but I would only do that like once a week maybe. before, but it got to the point like when I was fasting, it was like once every 3 weeks. Or like not brushing my teeth every day, and how dirty they feel after you eat,
Yeah.
just little things like that that you kind of take for granted. Like,
All your senses become alive and awakened.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome, Sarah. Awesome. So everybody is all right. If nobody has anything, we can wrap it up. We have people waiting downstairs anyway. So, anything else you come to mind, or before we wrap it up, Sarah?
I don't think so. Try to have my little like cheat sheet here next to me, but I think I kind of
That's awesome.
hit it all.
Over 2-inch growth, like people will notice that.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna go, "Are you the same person?" Because that's even an inch you notice. It's, you know what I mean. 2 inches is a lot.
And it was funny. I had just like redone my my driver's license and my passport. And so
Oh,
it say 5'4", and I'm like, damn it! Now I'm gonna have to go redo and make them say 5'6".
never thought about that one.
But, oh, my eyes, I guess. Seeing those change, like the pictures I have from before. I guess my eyes have always been hazel, but like they were so yellow, like
Yeah,
just bright yellow, and then seeing them now,
yeah.
it's
We've seen, especially people that have been on pharmaceuticals for a long time. The eyes change drastically.
yeah,
You start cleaning up. Yeah. When I started fasting 3 decades ago, my eyes were almost black. So it's everything changes drastically. Everything inside out, the way you think,
yeah,
everything changes.
yeah,
It's an awesome realization, awakening.
yeah. Something that my daughter asked me the other day. She was like, when are you going to stop fasting? And I was like, well, probably never. I'll do it for the rest of my life. And she was like, you're going to fast for the rest of your life? And I was like, well, not every day, but it's going to be incorporated for the rest of my life. She's like, wow, that's amazing.
With children, the beauty is, people get paranoid. They want to structure certain times and everything, but just have food around and tell them, teach them, eat when you're hungry instead of going by the clock. Because once we're programmed by the clock, man, that's a tough habit to change. So if we teach them to eat when you're hungry and you have food available all the time, they won't get into that habit of overeating and all that. They'll start listening to their bodies more and more and more, and that's the beauty. Because if you watch most parents, and even with their pets, they structure certain times, and it's a program. Oh yeah, like you said before, 12 o'clock I gotta eat. Yeah, what do you mean? I got what for? I'm not hungry.
Yeah. And I even catch myself saying things like that, like eat your dinner, or no, you can't have dessert until you eat all.
Right,
And then I'm like, what am I saying? Like, it still just like comes out of my mouth.
Yeah,
it's like so ingrained.
It's so ingrained in all of us. This is why we keep doing these calls to reprogram ourselves, because that program is very intertwined, very, very deep within all of us. And if we're not around something to reprogram with the new information, the old program is going to take over very quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Yeah, it's crazy how
it never goes away. It never goes away, but we can, bring the new program in and retrain ourselves, and And the more we stick with it, the more the new program runs instead of the old program. And that's all it is. So that's why we keep going and keep going and keep going. All right. So thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And sharing and inspiring everybody. And
I
thank you.
don't know about that.
What do you mean? That's awesome story. Awesome.
All right.
You know.
Would you like to say goodbye?
Yes. Goodbye. Awesomeness!
God.
Bye,
Exactly.
Vincent.
Exactly.
Bye.
Tell Deanna we said bye too.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Thank you all for supporting.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye.
You'll see
Thank you,
back on the page. And keep digging.
Yes.
That's
Just
the
keep
love
digging.
always flowing. Keep digging away. So,
Love you all. See you
Thank you
soon.
so much. Thank you guys.
ciao, ciao.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Who's that Euro slide?
Bye.
Bye.